My dear friends, a very good afternoon to all of you. My topic is the Wood Legacy of Kallai, Lessons for the Future. So, from Austria, let me take you to a very small village in the peninsular Indian part. It's Kerala, and in Kerala, particularly a small village called Kallai. Okay, probably I don't know how many of you know about Kerala. This state is a very tiny state in the southernmost peninsular part of Kerala, India. And this state is known for its lush greenery and the warm, humid tropical climate and very high rainfall and humidity. As a result of that, this area above a lot of vegetation. Innumerable vegetation, both tropical evergreen forests, moist deciduous forests, like an array of forest types are located in this region. Of course, the fertile soil contributes to this natural heritage. We have evergreen moist deciduous forests, and it is also the home of, as a consequence of this, this is the home of several economically important tree species. For example, structural timbers, softwoods, plywood species, and pulpwood and other small wood species are plenty in our state. Probably you're all very much aware about the paragon of Indian timbers. It's called teak, rosewood, xylea, xylocarpa, terminalia, and sandal are some of the most important, economically important tree species in our state. Now let me take you to a small place called Malabar. Probably this is the north central part of Kerala state. It is you can see it, you can see it, this is the southern peninsular part, this is the Kerala part, and the Malabar constitute up to the central part of Kerala, from north up to the central part of Kerala. Okay, and coming to the Malabar region, it is nowadays this place is not known as Malabar. It is part of Kerala only. But earlier, this region was called as Malabar, and the prominent aspect with this particular region was that it is prominent in the ancient trade map of Kerala. If you trace back to the history, you can see that a lot of trade has been executed between this Malabar region and many European and Middle East countries. It was a leading, especially spice crops, because the spice-centered banks of Malabar was known by the overseas people for a long time, and we nurtured a very beautiful and very warm tradition with the Arabs, with the Europeans, and with Chinese. Probably you may be aware, or you might have heard about a place called Calicut or Kozhikode, which is the trade capital of Malabar. And because of its proximity to the Arabian Sea, and because of the contacts with the Arabs and all, this particular region was very much known in the ancient times in terms of foreign trade. Now let me come to the glory of Kallai, the place which I am interested or I am talking about. This is a suburban village near the Calicut city, because it is very near to the Calicut city, 6 kilometers away from the city of Calicut. Now this was internationally acclaimed a premier center of wood trade for a long time. For centuries, this particular region was known as one of the premier wood trade center in India. And it dictated the wood market for centuries, for many years. The international wood market was dictated by this particular region. So much so was the importance of this particular place. And of course, its glory, maybe its history traces back to the beyond the era of Zamorins. Zamorins were the king or the rulers of this Malabar region during those times. And in fact, this Kallai is a very small town, a small village, and it is situated along the banks of the river Kallai. You can see that this is the river. Along the banks of the river Kallai, almost 35 kilometers on either side of the river. Okay. Now you can see that I have already mentioned that it's an export center of timber, finished and raw materials, and the finished materials, raw materials also were exported to the Middle East, and the glory was, or it was in its peak during the 1950s and the 70s. And probably why so much of importance for this region, or what could be the reasons for flourishing wood industry in this region, was exclusively because of the bountiful supply of good quality structural timbers such as teak, rosewood, terminalias from the private and the government forests. Because during those times plenty of private forests were there, and there was absolutely no dearth for the wood, especially the raw wood available from these forests. And another important contributing factor to the glory of this particular place was the river. The name of the river was Chaliar. This is a prominent role in upholding the glory of Kallai, because on the both sides of the river, almost 100 kilometers on the both sides of the river, some of the pristine and wonderful moist deciduous forests were existing. And these constituted the major storehouse of the wood for this. And the wood was using larger rafts. You can see these are the wood rafts. By means of this, huge quantity of wood was transported to these regions, to these Kallai areas. Okay, so cheaper river transport, heavy wood demand, and the national and international market. These were the reasons for the flourishing of this industry in this particular region. And it is reported that about 150 large and small sawmills were located in this particular region during those times. Historically, you can see that the wood legacy of this particular small region was contributed as a result of wood trade for centuries. You know that Vasco da Gama, the entry of Vasco da Gama into India, it was in the place called in Calicut. He came in the year 1498, and that was the beginning of European entry or the European colonization in India. Afterwards, trade with Arabs and the Europeans, and of course Dutch and French were pioneers, or were the most prominent in the colonies, the developed colonies in India. And prior to this event, Kozhikode, or this mighty seaport, was instrumental in culturing or developing cultural relationship between Arabs and the Chinese. In fact, it is said that they exchanged the products of the West and East in this place called Kallai, right? So that is the historical significance of this particular region. And of course, after the English East India Company arrival in 1600s, again the prominence of this particular place was more and more become prominent, because the British people wanted a lot of wood, and this was the point, or the Kallai was the area from where wood was exported to various other European countries. Even it is said that the wood from the Kallai were used in the Battle of Waterloo, the very famous Battle of Waterloo, in which Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated. Right, the British fleet used this for making their warships. Then even the Buckingham Palace was constructed part of the wood from Kallai. Restrictions on the felling. So what could be the major reason was that, see, when you think about the southern and the eastern part of Kerala, I mean, southern and the northern part of Kerala, the southern part of Kerala was mostly under the princely states during those times. That was under the control of the Rajas or the kings, or under the control of the government. Okay. Whereas the east, the northern part constituting this Kallai, Malabar and all, these regions were partly under the private forest and also partly under the princely forest. So a large number of private people were holding this, and absolutely there was no dearth for quality timber. So wood was, they were because there was no restriction on the felling of the wood also. Whereas in the south, there was some kind of restriction. That could be the reason for flourishment of this particular area. The first organized wood processing unit in Kerala was set up in Kallai. See, this is by A. Brown in 1893. The first organized sawmill was constructed in 1893. And these are some of the prominent private forest owners in this part of the world. They were having huge hectares of private forests, and a lot of wood, especially teak forests. And teak, there was no dearth for teak during those times. I'm speaking about the early 70s, 1970s. Now, what makes this particular region so important is the demand for some specific wood products. like long teak wood planks of size 30 feet into 2 inches into 2 inches. These small planks of large or very lengthy planks of teak were having an important niche in the international market because of their use for a Royal Navy. So this was a very important scenario in the Kallai region, and almost 10,000 small scale units were located in this area, exclusively converting the teak planks into this much size and then transporting them or then exporting them to various other countries, especially for making Royal Navy, for construction of Royal Navy's boats. The lengthy teak wood planks of size 35 to 40 feet from the Nilambur forest in the huge rafts called, these are the rafts. Okay, and likewise 30 into 1.5 into 1 inch were exported to the Middle East countries for the repair of wooden country boats. You might have heard about urus. Uru is nothing but it is a huge wooden country boat which were having a very high demand during those times in the international market. And of course I am going to discuss about that later. So the major source of wood for railway sleeper, packing case industry, and use of lesser known tree species like Elanthus trifisa, Bombax, Macaranga, and very high export potential to many European countries. All these things made this particular Kallai as an important wood trade center for a very, very long time. These are some of the prominent, of course these sawmills are non-existent now, but they were some of the prominent sawmills existing during those times. Now, when I discuss about Kallai, I cannot forget this particular region. Probably those who are interested in the teak probably may be aware of this particular land, because Nilambur is called the Mecca of teak. Nilambur is called the Mecca of teak, and this area is known for the quality teak and also high rate of growth. Teak of high rate of growth. It has got high demand, golden brown color, then strength properties makes this one of the, and the dearth for, of course, in the history, this particular zone is known in the history for a very important thing, that is teak was artificially planted for the first time in the world in this particular area. Teak was probably, this is the beginning of teak plantation industry in the world. Okay, and the person responsible for this was H.V. Connolly. He was a British man. He was the collector of that Malabar presidency during that time. So you may ask, what is the collector has to do with the teak? Because of his sheer interest on this particular teak, he was aware that teak is going to be or it is going to diminish in the market because of its disappearance from the natural forest. So he thought that it is going to be a very rare commodity in the very near future, right? The downfall of this Kallai is mainly because of the dearth for quality timber. There is no doubt about it. Okay, it has started downfall. Now, whatever Kallai we see in the particular region is only a shadow of the old Kallai. The reason is there is a very, very acute shortage of raw material in this particular region. There are many reasons for this. All the forests were nationalized in the Kallai region. All the private forests were nationalized, and no longer forest for the teak or the raw materials are available to Kallai for the wood industry. Construction industry in Mumbai also got faded, and the trade unionism is another thing which is supposed to be the reason. Because of the proliferation of trade unionism, this industry has been decentralized, and it has spread to the interior of the Kerala rather than concentrating in a small area. This is you can see this, there is a gradual reduction in the output or the export from this particular region, and it has come to about 603 tons, and thereafter it has never touched a 4-figure. Now, some of the major reasons are that the government to slash the sale tax on the timber and the firewood. Well, if you want to revive the industry, one of the major reasons or the way out, what they say is that the government should slash the sale tax, because nowadays the price is very high, and the government to revamp the wood export policy, because wood export is somewhat stopped in India, because round wood export is no longer existing. So the industry is not able to to flourish. It is by and large it's an importer even now. The Uru trade, I just give you a small idea about the Uru. Is a large country boats which were made, and this trade was very much prominent in a place called Bepur near to Calicut. It was known for centuries, the art behind the construction of this particular large vessels, which is very near to the Calicut. Arabs and Greeks used these large vessels since ancient times. In fact, these Urus were constructed by a tribe. They are called as Baramis, B-A-R-A-M-I-S, Baramis, and Kalasis. These two tribes are even now existing in the Bepur part of Kerala, and they are doing, even though they are associated with this business, but its glory has diminished. Nowadays, it is done at a very smaller scale or a smaller level only. There are many types of Urus. These are the boom, padao, brick, all these things are different types of Urus, and their artistic constructions were so unique that Arabs and the Europeans were very much enthusiastic on constructing them. So let me conclude saying that the winds of change. What happened is that with the dearth or with the reduction in the raw material or in this region, they switched over to other important sources of timber like second order timber species like terminalias, Styrocarpus, etc. Because teak was a rare commodity and the industry could no longer exist or support the teak, so they switched over to that. Was a very welcoming change, right? And it opened up, renewed up the demand for small timber sector, especially from other different states. And there was also renewed interest on different aspects like mango tree was used for plywood industry, and bent teak, it was a Lagestromia lanceolata. It was very much preferred for lorry building construction. Or lorry body building, and Orthocarpus hirsutus angeli, which was used for boat construction. So they switched over to other important tree species when the main species were not available. Another very interesting opportunity is you can see here that 63% of teak wood in Kerala is coming from the homesteads, rural homesteads, whereas the forest department is providing only 34%. So that means that there is a very good opportunity for the availability of wood raw materials from non-forested areas, non-forested. So if the government and the industry need to flourish, what you have to do is that the raw material scarcity as a potential reasons for the downfall of this particular region, and there is a need for diversification of wood products. And the wood from the natural forest is coming down. There is no more, the wood will be available for this kind of industry from the natural forest. So there is a dire need to switching over to non-forest areas, that is the homesteads and other areas. Probably you have to encourage the tree farming. At the moment, the government policies are not so much favoring this tree farming outside the conventional forest areas. If the government come forward with such favorable and such eco-friendly tree farming policies, probably that will yield a lot of wood from our own homesteads, and the so-called problem of non-availability of wood raw material will be solved. That's all. Thank you very much.